Welcome to another episode of Rhinestones and Rants. My name is Alyssa Better, your host, and today we are getting real with LA's premier studio owner, Toni Ricci, with her talented studio director, Keli Adams from Elite Dance Center. This is an epic episode. We are calling it What It Takes to Be Elite. From how studios make money to why certain competitions get the nod and who gets to be in these winning dances and why. Toni and Keli are spilling the truth, fairness, hiring, tough love, and what she wishes every parent understood. We're also talking about burnout, boundaries, and what life looks like other than the rhinestones, because Elite just isn't about building dancers, they're building futures. So get ready, as this episode is bold, it's honest, and it's everything you wanted to hear that you didn't even know that you needed to know. So sit back, click that like button, subscribe, make sure to share the love, and let's sashay into it. Welcome to Rhinestones and Rants, where the glitz of the dance world meets the real talk of industry, and a dance mom who lived it every day. This podcast isn't just about perfect pirouettes and dazzling costumes. It's about the raw, unfiltered journey of raising dancers, navigating the competitive scene, and balancing the chaos of life beyond the studio. So grab your coffee or wine, adjust that messy bun, and join me and special guests for a little bit of rhinestone-covered realness. Click that like button below, subscribe, and let's get into it. So welcome, you guys, to Rhinestones and Rants. I'm so excited to have you both in the studio. Elite Dance Center has made such an impact on so many people's lives. Amazing studio out of Los Angeles. But I thought it would be apropos to have both of you introduce yourselves to people who don't know who you are, which is hard to believe after as many years as both of you have been at dance. So I guess we could start with you, Toni.
My name is Toni Ricci. I'm the owner and director of the Elite Dance and Performing Arts Center in Woodland Hills, California. And I also am still a teacher, and I still choreograph and spend my life doing that.
And you do. She definitely spends her life doing it. And Keli?
Hi, I'm Keli Adams, and I'm the assistant director at Elite Dance Center. I also teach and help run the competitive dance team. Been in LA my whole life and still dancing.
Yeah, and it's such a full circle to have you on. I don't think that a lot of people know, but Toni was actually Joelle's first dance teacher. Joelle started dancing when she was 2, and I always talk about what did I know about dance? Less than nothing. I probably 17 years later, probably still don't know that much, but trying to say like if I only knew then what I know now, but. To me, when she was 2 years old, it was about the tutu, the huge bow in her hair, and taking her to her first ballet class and putting the shoes on that didn't even fit because they were so big and like had so much room in them. But you put the first little pair of ballet shoes on, and there was you. You were her teacher, and you introduced her to this unbelievable journey that we've shared for like over 17 years. So it's a special moment to have you in the studio because I have watched you, not only having you as her teacher, but I've watched you from afar go from, maybe an hourly employee. I don't know what you were making when you were teaching Joelle dance when she was 2, and to building this unbelievable empire that you have amounted and touched so many different dancers' lives. So when did you first, to try to get into it and learn more about you, when did you first start dance? When did you first fall in love with dance and knew this is your lane and this is what you were going to do?
So, I started dancing actually not until I was about 6. So what a lot of people don't know is I grew up in Maine, and I grew up in a pretty small town. I came from a pretty low income family, and like my family, like we didn't even have a car. We walked places. So it was so I had a little friend from school, and she was in dance, and her mom was like, I would play with her, and her mom's like, oh, she should take dance. And my mom, we didn't even have a car to get there. So actually I would go with her to my first dance class, and it was a little ballet and tap class, and I hated it. Oh, it was awful. It was boring. The music was boring. The steps were terrible. I just remember just not really wanting to participate. And because I went with this kid from school, I do remember throwing a couple tantrums, like refusing to go, which is so wild. And my mom, because we had no money, she had bought that dance costume, and she had bought those shoes, and she was like, you will go to the you will be in the recital. I paid for this costume and you're wearing it. Thank God. And so I went to my first recital, and I remember standing on stage, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I did change somewhat of the choreography for myself.
Of course you did. Why would I expect anything different?
Yeah, there is a
from
video
you?
of me
This is
like
who she is for those of you that don't know her, because she always has to sprinkle her own amazingness on it. So
Yes.
you rhinestoned it. Go
yeah,
on.
so I did rhinestone it. I there's a video clip of me like backing into some of the other kids. Like the pose was supposed to be down and my ending pose was out. But there's a clip like in this old 80s video, and it's like the curtain closes. I'm just standing there with this like blue tiara on my head thing. Like it's like headband. It was gaudy. And I was like, I love this. And then I was like in a combo class. So I was able to go like watch the show. And these kids came out and did jazz. And I was mesmerized. I mean, at that time I had these boots. I called them my Tina Turner boots, and I used to jam out in
I
my
think
kitchen.
we all had Tina Turner boots. I still kind of probably have a pair hidden
Yeah.
way in the back of my closet, but I probably have them. Go on.
Exactly. So that was like my vibe. And they were out and they were dancing to Paula Abdul and like New Kids. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And so fast forward to that spring, that fall, the pamphlet came in the mail. Again, this is the 80s, you know. So I was like, I want to do that. And my mom was like, no. Like, we are not doing, because I acted terrible. And I said, no, like, please, like, I need to do that jazz, that fast stuff. And so she said, okay. So I went in and I signed up for a jazz class, and the rest was written in history after that. I actually like never stopped dancing. And I kind of decided I wanted to own a dance studio right then. So,
What was it like? Not every kid that's 6 years old says, oh, I want to be a dance studio owner. Like, what was it about it? Like, people, when they hit stage, and you tell a really important point, because I think that listeners that have young kids, you don't always know. Like I said, for me, it was about the tutu and the picture that I could take. And I don't even think Facebook was then, but then all of a sudden, social media came and you're posting these cute little pictures of your kid. But I don't think when you're 6, you think about, oh, I'm going to be a dance teacher. I think it becomes more of, you see the difference when a kid all of a sudden hits the stage. There's a certain light. There's this certain, I saw it with Joelle. The second I saw it, there was no getting it out of her eyes. Like, it's not every kid, but you can tell with your own children when they hit that stage, this light goes off. And it sounds like that's what ultimately happened for you. So the light goes off. You're like, okay, this is it. But owning a dance studio at 6, come on.
I know. I was 6, I think I was 7 at the time of the show. And I remember watching the lights. I remember all of it and just thinking like, not only did I want to be a dancer, but I was like, I also want to own my studio. I want to do this my own way. I want to do my own dances. And I think at 7, I remember, and I know this is going to sound super cliche, but so again, keep in mind, again, low income family. I remember this again, like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my room, and we had towels for curtains. I mean, this was living in it. And I remember
hairbrush microphone.
Yeah, I remember the pink towel curtain that I had. And I remember waking up one night, and I remember just like, there was a lot going on in my household. And I remember just like staring out the window, and there was a shooting star. And I remember I was 7 years old, and I remember saying like, my wish on the stars is just like own a dance studio someday.
And
that was at 7.
That's unbelievable.
And so, but I still wanted to dance also, but it wasn't like I ever was like, you can't do both, you know? So I think I figured out the road ahead of me. And to be honest, like all the roadblocks I'm sure we'll get into, but that stood in my way along that way. And the odds were really stacked against me. And so, but that feeling, I just like knew that's what I was meant to do. I really, unless you know, and I'm sure like Keli has that feeling too, I just knew that's what I was born to do. I just knew that's why I was on this earth. Like I really did.
I love that so much, because I do believe that a lot of people ultimately, they find, like, I think people at 50, 60, 40 are still searching for what they want to do. So I think it's such an unbelievable blessing when you're younger to really know. And when you have passion, I mean, I always tell my kids and like people that work for me, like in the business world, it's like, if you have passion for what you do, the sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, you can be a plumber. If you have passion for plunging toilets, you're going to invent the next coil that's going to like hit, and you're going to become a gazillionaire. And, success and money and all that is different. The definition is different to everybody who has it. But I think that as we get into your story, that passion that drove you as a 7-year-old is really kind of what we see. So you go through being a teacher. How many years did you teach for?
So I started. I was fortunate. I didn't go to an amazing dance studio. Keep in mind, I was a once a week dancer. We didn't have money. I wasn't at dance competitions. I wasn't doing any of that. We had money for one dance class a week. So for the first 5 years I danced, it was strictly a jazz class, one jazz class. And I spent the rest of my time training myself in my living room with my dance videos like that come in the mail. The recital would come in and I would learn every dance. I knew, that's how I trained myself on the side. There was no internet. There was no, so that's all I had. And my mom babysat kids and I had a dance studio then, and that's what they did all day, whether they wanted to or not.
Oh,
So
I
I put on
that.
shows. And I was fortunate. I went to a high school. It was public school, but the school Thornton Academy, it's in Saco, had a dance program. And I had the program had dance, but it wasn't like just dance. It was fundamentals of choreography, art and motion. I had an amazing dance teacher there who I think, again, when you're dancing only 1 hour a week, you are not technically going to be as strong as other kids who are at any dance
No.
studio training multiple hours a week. By the time I was in high school, I was dancing more at that dance studio. I was working to help pay for stuff. I think my parents were paying for a couple more. My uncle was paying for one. Like it was like a group effort. So I was like taking more classes, but this wasn't like my mom, again, she didn't drive far. I wasn't able to go to like the Portland School of Ballet or something like that. So, that's what I had. And my mentor in my high school was like this amazing woman, Kathy Nolan. And thank God for her because she really was the one person in my life at that time that did believe in me and did show me other things. I was able to, so at that time, I was the student director of the dance company there. I was assisting the classes. I was choreographing dances. She was taking me to see Pilobolus, Bill T. Jones, Mark Morris Dance Company.
Amazing.
So she was like really, I think I was like kind of handed a role there that wasn't just dance though. It was leadership. It was all these things. So I actually really started teaching there. And then I would sub at the local dance studio as well. So I would say by the time I was like 15 or 16, I was actually kind of in the position of starting to teach. And my mentor was like, you're good at this. And I realized, look, okay, maybe I'm not the kid who's going to be doing 5 pirouettes on point right now, but I sure could run the program and I sure could choreograph a dance and I could deliver and I could explain. And I think I learned that there's other outlets too. And so like, thank God for her. I can't say that enough.
Which you bring up such a valid point because I do believe, look, you can go to any dance school. I did a whole episode on how to choose the perfect dance studio, which we realized that World Peace would be easier than perfect dance studio because it doesn't exist. But I do believe success starts from the top and works its way down.
Mhm.
And having having a great mentor through the journey when your kid is spending so many hours in a studio is so critical because they're almost the parents when the parents aren't there. And you're teaching a skill that is such, it becomes part of them. But dance doesn't just teach you dance. It's like you said, leadership, caring, mentorship, the opportunity to, craft a kid and bring out the best of them. That's not always such an easy thing to do, right? And you have so many different kids and so many different personalities. So I think probably the greatest gift to me, it sounds like that you had this mentor that was able to pull what they could out of you to be part of who you are today. So it's an amazing success story because I believe that that's carried on to making what you've done today so successful. Because what you've done, we're going to get to this right now, actually. What would be like the one word or sentence that you would define the studio that you built? Like, what is your mantra or what is like your mission statement of this studio? Because your story of where you got to developed when you were 7 in that room. It developed when you met this unbelievable mentor and you were able to teach. Sometimes the best teachers are the worst studio owners, and sometimes the best studio owners are not the best teachers. You do both. This is incredible. Like that's a gift. So how would you sum up your mission statement of what you've actually built?
you get what you work for. And you get what you work for, and also like you have to follow your heart. I really think so. I think where there's a will, there's a way. And I really tell my kids that. I do think like anything that's worth it's hard. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of things. That's not an excuse to not do it. And a lot of times people run away from trying because of all the what ifs. And you kind of just need to like pound the doors down on the way, you know? So.
And Keli, you've been her right, left
As
hand.
I'm emotional.
Oh, you're getting emotional.
Oh, yeah.
When people cry on the set, it makes me very
Sorry.
weepy too. Don't be. No. Because you both you're such an incredible dynamic duo. I mean,
Thank you.
I've known you
Fun.
for quite a
Yeah.
while as well, from when she opened up the studio. And I mean, you were a very big inspiration, and you were an inspiration for Joelle when Joelle was going through a really tough time, and you pulled her out, like, and I don't even know if you know that you did that.
I
but
had no clue.
yeah,
But
you did.
thank
You
I'm
actually
honored.
did that.
Yeah.
She was going through a
Lovely.
rough time with like what kids go through with
Absolutely.
whether it's bullying behavior, teenage stuff, hormones, whatever it was, and she wasn't in such a great place at a time that I brought her to you, and you brought her back to life. You made her feel
Wow.
good about what she did, and I always have a like special. I'm gonna get weepy, but I have a special place in my heart for you because
Thank you.
you did that for her. And being Toni's right and left hand, you've just heard her story, but you've heard more importantly like how she defines a lead. But you're a big part of that. So how do you define it? Like you wake up every single day and you didn't even know that story that I just did. So when you're
Yeah.
a teacher, when you're a teacher and you own a dance
Yeah.
studio, there's so many things that you do that you affect people and you don't realize it. And on the opposite side, sometimes you could have people that don't belong in a position of authority, and they really dull somebody's sparkle. Don't let anyone
Totally.
dull your sparkle. My
I love
pillow
that.
that's
Yeah.
here. There's a reason for that. I bought that for Joelle when she was younger, when I saw somebody try to dull her sparkle, and I was like, no, that's never going to happen. Like, we're never going to let anybody dull your sparkle. You guys have done the opposite. So how would you define it specifically?
I think for me, it's a community. I think that Toni's built like such a gorgeous, safe space for everyone. And I really do stand by that. I'm a huge collaborator. I don't ever want to do anything alone. That's not my take on anything. I think because I grew up as a dancer and you don't do anything alone. And so I really do think that the community is just like unlike anything I've ever witnessed I've worked for obviously quite a few places. I grew up in multiple different dance studios, one in particular that was a lovely, lovely place for me. And that is, I feel like the same thing. It's a home, it's a community, it's a sense of like belonging for a lot of people. So I
and
think
how
that's
did you
really-
and Toni pretty much connect? Like, I don't know who wants to take that question,
I
but
feel like Toni has a good.
So, yeah.
Anyway,
So it was pretty early on. I mean, I think it was year 2, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
It was year 2. The studio was still pretty small at the time. And my right hand that helped open the studio with me, which we can get into because that's the whole story of opening the studio is crazy in
let's
itself.
go there. You know what?
Because that's going to segue into this.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
So you were a dance teacher for a while. How many studios were you a dance teacher in before we even opened up a studio?
Probably like 6 maybe, but primarily right before I opened up the studio, 1.
Okay.
I kind of started with 1 class and I was teaching 25 preschool classes a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So, but 6 studios that you went through, getting different jobs and learning different. And I think that that's also really important because I had a friend, she's probably one of the most successful hair cutters in New York City. And I was like, how did she even get into cutting hair? Like, I didn't even know she was a hair cutter. And she started at the beginning. She went to go work in different hair salons, sweeping floors, like washing people's hair. Didn't even have a hair cutting license. Right. And then she slowly went and got that. But she did that because she wanted to learn. She wanted to learn every single aspect of the business. And she went from place to place. And when she felt like she had enough knowledge, then she took that and she made it her own. And she's been on the cover of Fortune magazine. Like, she owns like all of these things. So, for you working at 6 studios, and I think that that's important for anybody that's listening, these are questions you should ask studio owners, because learning from all the different things is really how you get to being exceptional, because you learn what works and what doesn't work. And it's only through trials and tribulations, right? So 6, then you worked at 1, teaching 25 classes. And now tell me how we got there.
Yeah, so I was hustling. I mean, when I moved to LA when I was 22 on my own, and it was rough. I mean, I was at one point, I mean, I've always paid my own way for things, and I was like, at that time I was living with a friend in Hollywood. I was paying her rent to sleep on a twin mattress on a floor for years. I was working, I was working everywhere. And aside from teaching dance, I was working at Target. I was doing dressing up in costumes, doing birthday parties. I was doing background work. So I had taken myself back to school because I had left school for a tour. And so here we are. And I was teaching in Torrance. I was teaching. And the thing about LA is like, wow, was I driving everywhere? So I found this dance studio in Tarzana. And I kind of went in, and I started the first year. I think I was taking a couple dance classes, and to be honest, most teachers, dance teachers, come in, and I get applications all day long. I want to teach advanced. I want to teach advanced, and I was no different when I was 22 years old. I saw myself. I wanted to teach kids who could do your work, but I was such a hard worker, and it was for preschool only. And I said, okay, so I need I'll do it, and I was super good at it. Like really good at it. And I loved it. And it's crazy because I think I really built Elite off of teaching preschool classes, which is crazy because I don't even teach preschool now. But so I started teaching, and I worked there for 7 years. It was an amazing little community. I made friends of a lifetime. And in fact, some of my friends that worked with me are how Elite even opened to begin with. 7 years in, the owner of that dance studio didn't want to own it anymore. She wanted to sell it. I was devastated because I was so connected to these kids. Like at this point, I had already had some of those kids for 5-6 years. And I was
right, some of them had to be teenagers at this point.
Well, I mean, I was starting to teach them. They were like in diapers at 2 years old.
Oh, okay. So now
maybe they were
9,
like
10.
9, 10, some of them 8, And so I was like, wow, I think this is the moment, because if I don't do this now, I'm going to lose my kids. They're going to go to other dance studios, and I'm going to lose them. So really, the students at that time were my driving force. And full circle, let me fast forward ahead, was those kids were still there and graduated from Elite. And so
wow.
So really, it's full circle. Sorry. Just so grateful for them.
No, but the emotion is it's part of your story, right?
Yeah.
It's part of both of your stories when I see the emotion, because passion is what makes your studio so special. How many square feet is a studio?
We don't know.
No,
I
Toni
do
has
know.
done so many expansions.
Yeah.
So
I just keep expanding even when I don't have the money to. But just go for it.
Go
okay?
for it.
It doesn't
Don't
matter.
stop.
Yeah.
Just go.
I think I have 2 buildings. I have 7 studios, 2 really, really large studios. I think probably 30 or 40,000 square feet of just studio, of just the studio. So, but when we opened, we didn't, and so to back it back up, anyway, the owner there, I had no money. So I had $0 and my credit was tanked. I had a 490 credit score.
Oh my God.
It's okay. It's got better.
It's part, right.
It's part. And listen, I have never been one to be embarrassed about, and I really, for all the women out there, I also don't feel like people should be embarrassed. I had a reason for that. It wasn't like I just went and spent all this money on credit cards. I really came from a hardship. I put myself through college. I bought my own cars. I lived on my own. And there were other circumstances there that were out of my control that kind of led me to that. So, but you can imagine, how does somebody at 29 years old with $0 and a 490 credit score going to open up a dance studio? So I was trying to get the owner there to sell me the dance studio, but she was like, you're not going to be able to get on the lease. You don't have the money. How are you going to be able to do this? And so I said, I'm going to do it. And there was a mom of a student who I am very close with. She's a dear friend of mine now, that was overheard my conversation and was like, we'll lend you, at the time it was maybe $10,000, and that's all. It was really crazy. I was like, okay. And then there was one other person that was like, we'll lend you the 10 or the 20 or whatever. So basically I was able to somehow put together $30,000, which is still not enough money to open up just still not enough. But that's all I needed. All I needed was like one person to say like, you can do this and you can do this on your own. So I was like, but where was the studio going to go? And I had to start thinking like, I can't be on Ventura Boulevard. Like, how am I going to get a rent on Ventura Boulevard? So my friend and I, Carolyn, drove around one day and I was driving all around. I went down off and I ended up on this place on Independence and Victory. And there was a big sign on the window that said for rent. And I went in and it was a TV station that they were like consolidating to the back. And I said, I want to rent. And they were like, okay. And I was like, I want to put a dance studio in. And I'm like, but I have no credit, but don't worry. I said, I promise I'll pay it. And they were like, all right, well, we'll see, whatever. So I went back every day for like 6 or 7 days. Hey, just checking back in. I promise. And for whatever reason, God bless them too, because they're still my landlords to this day. They took a risk on me and they said, we like you. We believe in you. We'll do it. Again, thank God for them because they just took a risk.
Such pay it forward stories. I love this so much.
So that's how I had the place. And then from there, like I had 4 friends sign the floor in Studio A. I mean, we leased it and like all 4 of my friends signed it. It was, I think my cousin might have co-signed my lease. Yeah, I mean, there was so many people to thank that. Like, I think that really like kind of helped.
It takes a village.
It took a village. And then, of course, I opened the studio. I had maybe 30 students. And I mean, to run the place a month was already more than I had. So I already was like out before it even started. And then I ended up getting sued. I didn't do anything, so it all ended up being okay. It was just misunderstanding, I think, with the sale, and it was really between the new owner and the old owner, who I still hold dear to my heart. Like, I don't have any like ill will. Although it did, as you can imagine, like I was then in court, so that was really awesome.
And that costs money.
So I was already out then. So by the end of the first year, it already was like trying to get loans and stuff like that. So it was quite a process. But I mean, the studio was Studio A and Studio C, which was like got expanded later on. But I mean, that was it.
Yeah, and but it took, like I said before, it took this village to build it. All of these people believed in you. Did you have people telling you were out of your mind or trying to dull your sparkle and say, Toni, you can't do this? Like, don't do this. That actually put that doubt in your head, that actually you had to fight the demon almost every single day to say, no, I am going to do that?
Yeah. I think the majority of people in my life didn't think I could do it or be anything or be a dancer, or what was I going to do with dance and go to school for dance, or she's not good, or dance teachers not believing in me, people not believing in me. Yeah, I think most people did doubt me, but the thing was, my friends, like the people who did believe in me was enough. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need a couple people or one person who believes in you. And
it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
And you need to believe in yourself. And the thing was, like, I'm used to the word no. I'm used to being knocked down and getting back up. I was the kid who didn't make this and didn't make that and didn't get on this team. And I didn't, like, every time I picked myself back up and I made opportunities from it. And so I really, looking back now, I mean, on my childhood and those years, I'm so grateful because it really, I think, gave me the power and the willpower to be able to withstand what I was getting myself into.
It's such a story of triumph. I almost feel like playing the Rocky song, right?
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
Like, I feel like, we're running with Rocky up those steps, and to hear you and having to overcome obstacle after obstacle to get here makes your story that much more powerful to me. So then, adding to your power and to your village, Keli comes along.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a dynamic duo team. Like, pure, like you may not be blood, but to me, it's the closest relationship I've seen in any dance studio. It's, frick and frack, right hand, Lucy Ethel, right hand, left hand, backhand, and you really have each other's back. And I feel like you were both brought to, I believe people meet for a reason. I believe people, cross paths for a reason. There's no coincidence in that. So how did this unbelievable partnership, friendship, like, how did this develop and how do you keep it going? And Walk me through that a little bit, Keli.
I think that the studio I was working at the time, I've worked at multiple different dance studios, was kind of phasing into a new phase for them, and I knew I wasn't part of it. And I had 2 or 3 students at the time that really needed a space to dance in. And obviously, I didn't want to, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So a friend of mine, one of my dear girlfriends from high school, was one of Toni's friends. And I had always heard in the background that Toni was opening a dance studio. I had never met Toni prior to that. I just knew
It's
that
so hard to believe.
my
It's
best
crazy.
friend and her best friend were sisters, and I knew her best friend from high school. And I guess long story short, I broke down and was like, I need somewhere to go. And I called my girlfriend Christine, and she's like, you need to call my sister. And so I had called Elite, and I had probably sent my resume there prior, I'm guessing.
Maybe, I think so.
And then Toni, I call, that's what I'm saying. Toni has a better memory than I do in a lot of ways, but I just feel like she gave me a chance, and we're here today.
Which is another pay it forward moment.
Well, it wasn't. So she showed up. I said, come meet me. And then I just remember talking to her out on the sidewalk because I guess I said I need to go walk my dog, which is funny because my dog's
That's exactly what it is. That's
so
exactly
we go
what
out to the
happened.
sidewalk, and she's like, I've got a couple students, and I want to teach here, and I was open to it, but I was like, look, I don't want to be. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't want to be associated with another dance studio or me I've always been I didn't want that, especially after my past experience. So I was
You mean no drama in a studio? That's
yeah. Well, I didn't want.
That's a thing.
Well, I was
I didn't
leaving
want.
a studio.
She was leaving a studio.
I just got sued. I don't want
I don't
to deal
want
with this. And I said,
yeah.
I promise you, just trust me, nothing will happen.
So I said, and I felt it. So I said, okay. So that first year she started just doing just teaching the class. And funny, out of the 3 kids she brought, one of them is one of my full-time employees now in Bailey, and she's literally helps run our competitive dance team, who was also such a blessing. But I felt good energy, so I was into it. But I think it was maybe in that next year, she had said something to me hey, I heard you guys are going to NYCDA or something. Do you mind if I come? And I was like, yeah, come. And then we kind of sat together at the show. And then I honestly think after that weekend, and she knew a lot. And we just I don't know, I felt keep in mind, back it up again. I didn't want to own a competitive dance studio. So I didn't want to do competitive dance. I was afraid of it because I think at the time, maybe Dance Moms had come out and all that. And I just I was I don't know, I don't want to subject kids to this craziness. Is it safe for them? Is it this? So I had, in the second year, I had said, look, I'll try one. I got 8 kids together. We went and did a dance competition. I loved it. And I saw all the learning experiences. And I realized, okay, if you have somebody who's sanely running a dance program, it can be a positive experience. And Keli had a lot of competitive dance experience. And so then my friend Carolyn, who, again, Carolyn and Robin, who helped build the studio with me, that wasn't their goal. They weren't dancers. They did it for me. One of them had kids and was moving, and Carolyn was going to art school and a photographer. And it was my friend Carolyn who said, look, we were driving in the car down DeSoto, and she was like, I have you thought about Keli taking my position or doing that with you? She's like, and I started crying because I was sad to see that go. But then I was so excited
One door closes, another one opens.
Because I knew she was, I think, what I needed for me in the studio. And I think the vision to be able to help get us to the next level. And you can't do things alone. And honestly, in business, you've got to surround yourself with the best. And I felt like she was of what I needed. And I think, but I don't know if you remember, I taught contemporary the first year. And so she wanted to teach contemporary, and she's amazing way better than me at it. But I was so protective. Remember, I was like, you can have this class, but I'm not giving up this class yet. And so the first year she did it, and then she did beautiful work. And the next year, the rest was history. I mean, I literally handed her the program from there. But so it was that's kind of how it started.
Yeah.
Which is so important in a dance studio, because we've been to 6 dance studios through Joelle's journey. And I always found that having the leaders of the dance studio connected on the same page, the people who are running it, it takes out, look, every dance studio has drama, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but it does take away so much of that when everybody's on the same page. And that is something that has always stood out to me about your studio and about the way you run your business, which is interesting because you had no business background. You were a dance teacher. You had the dream. It's not so, people think that, you go and open, like similar to this, I'm going to go start a podcast. Who knew everything that goes into, I'm like thinking, okay, put a microphone, I'm going to start a podcast. Oh no, this was a thing. This is like 18-hour days. Like I love it. And it's a passion project, but no different than you. You didn't have business experience.
Well,
what did that look like?
Well, I mean, I had gone to school for dance, but I had left school for a tour, which was wild also. But while I was in high school and there, I worked at an amusement park in Maine, which people don't realize. I worked at Funtown Splashtown for, I think,
killing me right now.
17 years.
Okay.
And I ran the point of sales department.
So
and
you did
again,
have-
I was slapped into some leadership position at 20 years old where I was helping run literally a whole point of sales department, guest services, the whole thing. And you know what? I learned so much from that family, the Cormiers who own it, and Mr. and Mrs. C, who to this day were like some of the best mentors, and still some of the best mentors I've ever had in business. I learned so much of like the other side of, from guest relations to just
customers,
having employees. Even they weren't mine, but I was still like doing the scheduling and this. And so, I mean, it's crazy, but it's, those 17 years working in that amusement park, I think gave me a lot of knowledge about business. And I was kind of always somehow in on the conversations that went on about finances and this. And I had a lot of really great conversations in the beginning with the owners there. And I think they really, and still to this day, I'll call them and they'll, or she'll say something to me like, don't be afraid of debt. It's okay. Like, or just like, and I see
words of wisdom.
And I see her success and how they built their place from the ground up. So, and the rest I learned as I went, again, you can't, when I was in it, when I was opening the studio, I had to go pull permits. Like, okay, I'm down at the Department of Building Planning with a bunch of architects. Well, I didn't have money for an architect to write this up, so I would do it myself. And I was with blueprints down at Van Nuys with all these guys just sitting there day after day trying to get my approval and my parking approval. And it was just one step in front of the other as far as that goes, and permits and police permits and all that. And once you're in it, you just go. You just learn as you go. And then the rest of it, it's like you can try to prepare yourself for something, but you don't know until you're in it how it's actually going to go. And so it was just one foot in front of the last. So the majority of it I've learned year after year. And
how long did it take you to start earning money? Because like obviously you had a lot of debt.
I'm still not earning money. I think that's
how many years?
13, 14.
Oh, come on.
No, it's true. One, I expanded a lot, like I said. And
which I'm going to show pictures. I will put up pictures of how stunning the studio is. Like if you haven't seen it or you're in the area or in LA, you constantly do master classes. So it's not like you have to be a full-time student to go. But I do highly recommend coming and seeing Elite Dance Center because it is stunning. I mean,
thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That other, the annex that you built, this space where they do master classes. I mean, when I walked in there, I mean, you didn't know this because I walked in and you weren't there and Joelle was taking a master class and I was like, I had tears in my eyes because I was like, look what you built. Like, look what you did. Like your big studio wasn't enough. You go take over another building and you're building this huge annex and it's like, I'm not even a dancer. I wanted to dance in there. It was just so perfect.
That was a risk. And that was like, and listen, people can, live their lives however they want. Like if I sat around and waited until like I was fluid with money in the account, like none of that would exist. So, I had to keep getting loans to get loans. And then during COVID, things started to, I would say right before COVID, we were finally like our student count was starting. We were getting there. Like I could see it starting to like break even. You know what I mean? Which is all I really want is like, to be able to like, obviously give myself a paycheck, but also like be able to break even. And then COVID hit. And I ended up having to take out like massive EIDL loans. And what people think, oh, the government helped. No, they did not. Like, yeah, they gave me loans that I have to still pay back. But what I did do was obviously, I did use some of that money to open up the annex because
Had to write it off.
Because at this point, like, what was I doing? You know, and then I spent the rest of the money all went to we built outdoor dance studios.
Joelle danced at that
Yeah.
outdoor dance studio. So during COVID, where no studio was dancing, there goes Toni outside, full on stage, dance floor, and you're running classes outside, kids dancing in masks. I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like there was another studio that did that too. I noticed on Instagram doing it, but it was so great because these kids needed to dance so much, and they were.
Right.
It was the most beautiful thing I ever saw.
Yeah.
Like,
but I would have went under otherwise because like it wasn't dancing, and all keeping the studio open in COVID did was run me into the ground financially. And that's the sad part about it. But at the end of the day, I wasn't gonna not be there for the kids or myself or my staff members. I never didn't not pay one of my staff members. When they gave out paycheck protection or whatever, I actually gave it to the employees. Like I did everything to protect my employees, and I wanted the studio after. So that was hard. And then it took 3 years to recover. I mean, you know, at the time, I think when COVID hit, we had about 400 students. By that June, I was down to like 40 or 50, I think, of just like the team.
how many people do you have in the studio now?
I think
Registration day Sunday.
Yeah,
Oh,
registration
it'll be out by
I think
then.
about I think we're wavering between 450 and 500. So
That's amazing.
it's gotten better, but also, you know, what people don't realize is the bigger you are, you know, I'm running a $60,000 payroll a month. I'm running $20,000 in rent a month. Like just that is most of the time all I don't even bring in that.
Of the
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and of the 400 or 500, how many are comp kids?
Right, about 100.
100.
I think we're at 120 right now.
And
for
would
the
you
next
agree?
season.
I heard this from another studio owner. Would you agree that most studios make money more from their recreational kids than they
Yes.
do from their comp kids?
100%. In fact, we were just talking about this yesterday because of registration day. I give really good pricing for the team because they are committed and they are devoted and they also are paying for this and that. And you want them to train. So they're investing in us and I'm going to invest in the students. The more the student dances there, the more I'm going to invest in a student. Not about money. I think that's like where a lot of people think, oh, money. I will speak for every dance studio owner out there that the majority of them are not in it for money. And it is
Can't
not
be.
for the weak. And that
Where parents, where I will speak for a lot of the parents on the
Yeah.
other side, they don't believe that.
Right.
I don't believe that.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I now have heard it from enough
Mhm.
dance owners, and I've heard it from enough people that I trust, like even an ex-dance owner, and
Mhm.
she's told me, it's like you as a parent, we're paying gazillions of dollars.
Mhm.
I had a parent that I was talking to 2 weeks ago. She spent in 1 year $100,000 on dance. I mean, that shit crazy.
Mhm.
Like $100,000 on dance. I mean, her daughter's an incredible
Right.
dancer, but it's hard to believe when I was paying me as a parent so much money to the studio for all the competitions and the recital pieces that we had to do and like all of the commitments that we had to the studio in addition to competition. Hard to believe that why would anybody do this if you're not making money? Like, so from a parent's perspective, what they're talking about outside of the window when people sometimes are bonding on negativity, because that's what sometimes people do. They're talking about these studios are making so much money. And then you're like, not the first, not the second person to tell me no. So clearly it's the love of the art.
Well, I think when I opened up the studio, obviously I thought I would make money. I mean, you know, when you open up a business, you're not thinking, hey, I hope I stay in debt for the million years for the rest of my life. So I mean, you think, but when you're in it, it's like one debt. So like for us, like for me, it's a lot of like loans and stuff. And so it's just, and then it's robbing Peter to pay Paul all the time. But the competitions like that we participate in are expensive on their own. So we're not like upcharging a ton of money for every single competition. Like, yes, I need to be able to pay the staff to be there. I need to have subs in the classroom. I have to have teachers. But it's not like like if we go to the nationals, I spend more money than they do just by paying my teachers to be there alone. And so I think that they think the comp payments, it's like go right to your pocket and they don't. And then like also keep in mind, like, I'm not the only teacher there. You know, I'm not that I don't live at the dance studio. So it's like the money goes to the rent, the electricity, the
Of
internet,
course.
you know, they
The
don't tell you.
insurance.
Oh my God, I just had to renew my insurance, the insurance, the equipment insurance, there's other
And
all the databases.
I love you're sharing that because
Yeah.
I think that it really does give an education to
Yeah.
specifically families that are listening to this, because I do believe there's a conception out there or perception out there that people think, oh, they're making so much money, I might as well just sign over my third child to
Mhm.
them because I'm spending so much. But there is, in my opinion, looking at both sides of this, so much you get out of it. If I had to do this whole journey again, I would do it that much again, and I would wish I had more money to do that much more,
Mhm.
because what my kid got out of it, life experiences, lifelong lessons that will go with her forever, and it kept her out of trouble. And there were health reasons. There was just so many amazing things to it. But I hope that parents that are listening are taking that away, that this is not a slam dunk. This is expensive to run. Your studio is large. You clearly made a very big investment to continue to expand. How long do you do it without making money? Is there a set limit for you on that? Is there?
I mean, I want to go, there are days where I am like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And it's not money ever that makes me think like that. It's usually just like, sometimes you just feel so beaten down, so misunderstood. Like, how is somebody who's like, I'm such a nice person, I'm so compassionate. And it's hard, it's hard sometimes to just like hear all the negative and everyone's complaining at you and everyone thinks that you should do something this way or you should do something that way. And then I go home and I live alone and I don't have kids and I don't have a husband and I take it home and I carry it on me. And I sit in bed and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't carry this. But then I think of the kids. And then when I'm with the kids, it's like I can't think of being with anybody else. I would never not want to be around Keli. I would never I love when we travel. So in the moments, like usually if I'm having a moment like that, within 12 hours, I'm back in the studio and I'm like, I love this. So but it is, and financially it's really hard too, because listen, I can't walk away. Everyone else can walk away. I cannot. And I can't even, like, at the end of the day, like, Toni Ricci is still responsible for everything. So it is really scary. With that said, that gives me more determination to just figure out a way to, like, to just keep going, because at some point,
You talk about, and I'm going to ask both of you this question. Keli, I'll start with you. She talks about getting beat up in the studio, or she talks about, like, people telling her what to do. I mean, you're a choreographer and an incredible choreographer at that. Um, do you hear a lot, like, from the parents that come to you, or are you dealing more with kid drama, or, you're when you have a lot of, whether it's females or males in a dance studio, there's a lot of estrogen and progesterone and
Energies.
hormones and energies going on, right? So it's like, what do you hear and how do you block that out? And how do you, leave that outside of the dance room? Because when they're in the dance studio and they're working with you, it's about dance.
Yeah. One, I don't really communicate with the parents in that way. I feel like we kind of have a structure in where kind of just like talking about it in a meeting or whatever it entails, depending on what the issue is. So I don't see a lot on that end. Um, it could have just been how I grew up, but the dance room is the dance room. And there is, for
No
me,
drama.
there is, of course, there are things that happen again outside of the dance room, but when people step into my space, at least the way I curate my class is I have an idea of what we're doing there, and that's what needs to be done for the day. So I don't see, and again, the community aspect to me is like everybody's there for the same sole purpose, and the people that aren't usually kind of flock away. And it just kind of staying hyper focused on what the intention is and what I'm there to give to the space. So I don't really, I think on that end of things, I don't
You
see
don't
it
hear
from,
it as much.
I don't hear it a lot. I mean, or I choose to not listen to it. I'm not really like I try to, I think I do know a lot, but I don't, I try to just keep it to myself and not like bring things up and whatnot. So sometimes it has to be depending on, again, what the
Right.
situation is. And I think, again, we have like a very case by case idea of how to deal with things. We talk about it and then kind of deal with it as is. But yeah, I don't.
And Toni, for you, like, you go home, and I I mean, I've seen it in lots of studios that I've been at, right? I know we've spoken in the past, like your parents, you don't have a lot of drama. And I think it's because of the way you
Right.
set up that studio, right? But there are going to be those people that tell you, well, you should be doing it this way, or you should be charging this, or you should. And it's like, all of those things coming at you in different
Right.
directions. It's like, how do you put your foot down? And like, I'm Toni Ricci. I
Well,
own the studio, and like making it like, this is your decision. Like
I
nobody backs you up into a corner.
I think one thing I try to do is not do that. Like I use we a lot. My team's amazing. I really value Kelly, my office manager, Bailey, like my teachers, my ballet director. I really value the opinions of my staff. So I do think we have a lot of open discussions. I'm very like transparent. So I don't know. And then with the parents, like the majority of our parents are amazing. So, but it's more of just I do put my foot down. So at the end of the day, it is my business, and I have to look out for the integrity of everyone. And I think the thing is I sometimes have to make a decision. It's like what's best for everyone may not be best for a sole individual. And so that's kind of when you're running a community and you're running. I have employees, like people forget, like, I have 30 employees. That's a lot of employees. I have to think about them. I have to think about the parents. I have to think about the kids. So when I make a decision, it's everybody would do what works for them, but I have to often do what doesn't work for me and do what works for everybody. And I think that's like kind of how I go into everything is I really try to see and I also feel like I do hear a lot of our parents out there. If they listen, if a parent comes to me and just has a genuine concern, by all means, like we want to hear, like we talk to them. We love them.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah. And we love them. And like, I want them to be happy, but that's where I think it's not an elite dance thing. Toni Ricci as a person has a really hard time. I like to please everyone. And the more I get older, the more I realize like, that's not a possibility.
It's not possible.
But I just don't like ever want anyone to be mad. And so, but I've gotten better too. And there are times too where like there's just like crazy scenarios, and I'm like, they can go.
The cancer stick.
Yeah, that they can go. But I mean,
The drama in the dance studio, and that's in every studio that you go to. I'm sure other people that are watching this right now, everybody has their own drama in their own dance studio. How do you tell me about maybe a difficult conversation you've had to have with one of your parents, or even with a student that might be, whether it's that cancer stick or it's not working. Like, how do those conversations happen? How do you step in, and where's the line between the parents or the students or vice versa, and then you guys coming into that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have any we're really close with the kids. Like, we don't really have there are hard conversations, but like we'll drop anything to talk to the kids. So like having a conversation with a little kid or a teenager or whoever it is they can be hard sometimes, but a lot of times it's not dance related conversations that I think are the hard conversations. It's the conversations when a kid found out their parents were getting divorced in the lobby right then, and we're holding them crying, or a kid's having a panic attack and you're holding them up, or you suspect that maybe the kid isn't eating or something's going on at home, or you have to call a parent and say like, hey, so-and-so's acting out of character. We're worried. Those are harder conversations to me, but a conversation about dance in general, to me, doesn't feel very hard.
And I love that also, because I think people need to understand that when you're sending your child to a dance studio to work with multiple teachers with multiple personalities, that's why it is so important you're choosing correctly, because your child is really in the studio. I mean, Joelle was in the studio sometimes, 4 to 6 hours a night, and you're talking about 6 days a week sometimes. That is a lot of time that she's not with me. And you want to make sure that she is around people who care about her, who know her, who understand that not every child's the same. And if you do go through, like, the fact that you're able to recognize if somebody is losing a lot of weight and possibly there's an eating something going on there, or like to your point, somebody's having a panic attack, to be able to be coddled when your mom or your father or whoever can't be there to help the child. I think that is critical. I mean, and that is why I always wanted to know, who are these teachers? Like, I wanted to know every single one of and there was a teacher at her last dance studio she was, I literally went in and I was like, this teacher should never be around kids, period. Plain and simple. I stand by that today. This person still is around kids. That person was never going to be around my child again. And I was like, if that person's teaching, I want a phone call. I want a credit because my kid will not be going into that class. Because some people, in my opinion, should not be around children. It doesn't mean that they're a bad dancer. It doesn't necessarily even mean they're a bad person. But it does take a special person, in my opinion, to be around kids because they are growing. And these are such informative years of not just in their muscles for dance or not just in their technique. It's in who, they are. And if they're beat down every single day and you're not bringing out the best in them, that scars. And you have to be really careful, and that's why I've always felt, look, full transparency, Joelle didn't go to your studio full time ever.
Right.
She came in and she took classes and she felt, like I said to you, Keli, she felt so loved and her creativity came out because you brought it out in her and it was a safe place for her to go. And that's why like I have such even more of enamored by your studio because you never judged. Never once did you ever say to me, she needs to come here. There was no sales pressure. It was like, I'm so happy she's here. And that meant so much to me. And I'm sure it means so much also to your other parents because not every studio is like that. And I'm sure that there are people listening that could say, really, this exists? Like, because I went to 6 studios and, everyone was great in its own lane and finding perfect didn't exist. But it was a great place for us to be able to go and just have her dance. And the best memories ever for me on that. So it says a lot about what you've actually built. What would you like every parent to know? Keli, I'm going to ask you first. What would you like every parent to know coming from you in dance? Like, what would you like them to know about sending their kid to dance or what goes on behind the scenes, for you that they may not know?
I think that it's a lifestyle. I think that like that's what I've built out of it. It doesn't. I mean, it's kind of the only lifestyle I know, but it definitely is a whole. It is a. It is a. It, the fun can turn into a career, and I think that just sharing is super important. For me, it is about the artistry. It's not really about the like technique and that kind of stuff. Love that. That is a whole nother thing. But to me, it's about like every kid's individual and everybody has their own artist in them. And I think that like they can all kind of find their time to rise. But I do think that it's a whole thing. And a lot of us like give up lives for it. I'm watching my 12-year-old niece do it. And she like doesn't even get to like do certain things as the normal 12-year-olds because she's doing this. And I keep telling her just like to keep doing it because like look at me, I'm still doing it and enjoying it while I'm doing it. So I guess I don't know if that
and you, Toni, what would you say? Well, if you had a magic wand and you could let parents know like something you really want them to know, what would that be?
I think there's 2 things. One, I think parents need to understand that your kid being upset's okay. I think, and to the teacher's defense too, look, like kids do get corrections. A lot of times what the parents don't see is they hear the part about, oh, so-and-so was so picking on me or da-da-da. But what they're not telling you is they were rolling their eyes. They were laughing. They were late to class. They didn't show up the last 3 weeks. Like there is accountability. And I think dance is a process and it's a journey and everybody's journey is completely different. And the goal, like we all arrive at a different time and it doesn't mean your kid's not good. And it's okay if your kid's upset. Look, I will tell you this story when I was in college, I went to school to be a dance major. And again, remember I was coming from that once a week, whatever, not a great training program. And I technically had a lot to do. Well, freshman year, you can't be on the dance company. You can only go on sophomore. Yep. So I tried out my sophomore year for the dance company. I wanted this more than anything. And my best friend made it and I did not. And I was one of the only dance majors. So you can imagine like for me, like I was
ego, whole
I
thing.
was devastated. I was like, I couldn't even believe it. And I wasn't jealous. I wasn't jealous of my friend, My friend was sad for me. I was sad, but I was happy for her. And I remember we had to do, so part of it is like you have to do stagecraft, you have to do costumes, you have to do props. You earn credits also for those things. So I signed up to work props for the dance concert. And I just have to tell you how humbling, like the fact that at 18 or 19 years old that I said, wow, I didn't get into the thing I wanted the most and my friends did, but I signed up to set the props and I stood on the side of the stage and I watched the show 3 nights in a row, just cheering for my friends. And I made myself a part of it somehow. And, the kids were great to me. It was like nothing, but that was hard. And that I said, I still want to be a part of this. Like, and I did that. And if my being a part of it was standing off, I wasn't even on stage and I was working the props. But 6 months after that moment, I got a call and booked a job. Do you know what I mean? And
So everything happens for a reason.
and thank God, because that job was what led me to California, which is what led me to Elite. And so everything happens in time. It's like patience. It might not happen when you want, and it might hurt. And yes, like there are all those feelings, but like kids have to learn how to navigate those feelings. I had to figure that out young, that I had to pick myself back up, that I wasn't going to get everything I wanted, that I wasn't the best, this is why I'm a good loser. That's why I can lose really well. I don't care, I know how, in this day and age, it's instant gratification all the time. They see this thing or this turn, and if they don't move up or they don't get what they want right away, it's like, look at the big picture, like things take time. And so what? Your friend might move up in this. You moved up in this. You have to just trust the process along the way, and
That's
it
like
really
such
will
good
work
advice.
out. Yeah, it will work out.
Such good advice. Final thoughts. What's next for both of you?
To keep doing it even bigger, I feel like.
Even bigger. Oh my God, we're
No,
at
but
40,000
just
square feet.
to me,
No more
it's-
construction.
Yeah. To me, it's about getting deeper into the art and how far we can take that into whatever direction it takes us.
It's also like what the art is to you, and making this up at 21 is very different what the art is at 29.
Absolutely.
And what it
I'm
was
seeing that
and what
daily,
it was
yes.
at 7,
Yeah.
right? Like the art, it may even be the same, but it just transforms into something different of the meaning of it, right?
Absolutely.
Which I love so much. That's why I love dance so much. What's next for you?
I mean, the opportunities are endless. I just want it to be the best of what I could, and I think that's like, I just wanted to, like, if I was going to open up a dance studio, it's not competitive wise, I wanted to be the best, but I wanted to be the best. And I wanted to be able to provide my students with the ability to be able to, whether they just want to dance for fun or they want to leave my dance studio and pursue dance. This year I got my first kids going to Juilliard, so I'm super proud. I keep saying any chance I get. It just sounds so surreal.
I actually heard that through the grapevine because
Yeah.
parents talk, and I actually saw that on a board, and I was like, oh, it came from Elite.
Yeah, so
because there were people like, she came from Elite, like that was like, and I'm like, yes, came from Elite. So
And just like being able to, like, this year I have all my I think almost all I have like 11 graduating seniors. And I think all of them are pursuing dance, all in different forms, whether it be in the industry or dance teams in college or, going to SUNY Purchase or Juilliard, or staying a teacher at the studio or going into a ballet company. So I think as a studio owner, I'm like, wow, that those kids were all, and we were a part of their journey along the way. So I just want to continue to be able to like provide a space for people to dance together and keep the community going as long as I possibly can.
well, thank you both so much, because it has been a journey, and it is a community, and as large as a community as it is, it's still a really small community. And I think that, whether it's people East Coast, West Coast, Central, it doesn't matter, because we all have a passion and we all have a lane, and we follow the journey as the journey comes. And you've both done such an incredible job. 10 graduating seniors. I mean, you're going to be part of their life forever. And you're part of Joelle's life since she's 2. And there's so many more of those kids. And I think that, you're a true success when, people look back, the way you look back on your mentors, the way you look back on students. You're such a success when you can say you have successfully been such a positive influence in those people's lives. So Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story so much because, like I said, it was a full circle moment. And I'm honored that you shared the story with me. And I can't wait to see what's next for both of you because it just gets better and better. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you for having us. Dance
Hugs,
on.
kisses. Dance on. Shine on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Don't let anybody treat you like regular glue because you're glitter glue. You sparkle, you shine. Get it, girl?